live and online. It's Sleepless with Steve and the Movie Book Club with your host, Steve Pulaski.
Back and better than ever, Sleepless with Steve, live on YouTube. New time, who dis? You know, we're bopping around like a bad sitcom over here. 6:30, new start time. Went from 8 to 7 to 6:30. Pretty soon we'll be in line with Maury at 2 o'clock. Good to be with you. Good to be with you. I'm Steve Pulaski. It is Sleepless with Steve, live and in living color on this Wednesday evening. It's like about the time you can start saying evening. Pretty soon we're going to say Wednesday afternoon. But good to be with you on this Wednesday evening. Joe Viso is back and certainly better than ever, more suave than ever. Good to be with you, Joe. After a 2-week hiatus, had some business to take care of, but he didn't leave us. My running joke was you were on strike for better wages. I said he could be on strike for a long time. And of course, we got Dominic Guanzon, the inimitable man who is probably resting and relieved, not pushing the buttons, sliding the sliders, and making sure the show runs competently.
I have time to finally focus on my wardrobe, how I look instead of how the stream looks. And I bust out this bad boy. Available now. No, it's not. Actually, look, it's not available on stevepulaski.com.
No, it's not. I don't have an Etsy shop quite yet.
Man, I wore that to bed last night. If I knew you were gonna wear yours, I would have. Hell
yeah.
I would have worn it on the show.
I'm gonna take this off because it's gonna get hot. But
yeah, that's gonna get hot.
Actually, can you hear the fan? Though. You can't hear the fan, can you?
No,
I can't.
Then good.
I hope they can't hear my fan though. Let me stand in front of it.
I appreciate the effort though. Look at that, man. Oh man, I could see the cobwebs on it. Dug that out of the closet, didn't you?
I actually have a few days off, so I was like, I need something comfortable to wear. Oh shit!
The Pulaski shirt.
Yeah.
I love it. Joe, how are you? You're the one who's been gone forever. You hog the mic.
I'm doing great. I was on vacation. I went to Vegas for a few days. Went way too long. Vegas is good for about 3 days at most, not 5 like I did. It was hot, but I had a lot of fun. Second week though, I had to. Sorry, I just got a text message. I had to basically take care of a lot of business. It was my last week at DuPage County, and then I actually got a new full-time job finally since this whole pandemic thing has like happened and whatnot. So yeah, it's been nice. I just had to take care of a lot of things. Drug tests. There was an orientation, and I had to meet with a few people. And it was from Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of last week, which is why I was gone. So, like, I just had to squeeze, like, all that stuff in there. And I figured I didn't want it to either cut into Sleepless or even, like, try to even make a close call. So I rather just play it safe than sorry. But, yeah.
Yeah, Vegas trip looked fun. Still waiting for you to get back on whether or not we're going to collab. You were getting a lot of offers on your Instagram Vegas posts over there.
I was, yeah. I got a lot of what's it called, collabs, and I only took one of them. It was the collab with Sleepless with Steve, which brought me back on the air. Steve and I renewed our contract, and we're all good now.
Did you follow that, Dom, in our little group chat of Joe's?
A little bit.
Because what happened was, and this was great, I was at the bar when I was like scrolling through Instagram, and I saw it, and like, you know, those bots, you see them on women's posts a lot, where like they'll have like fashion designer clothes, or they'll be in a bikini, they'll be like, you look so beautiful, collab, and it's like, you know, these weird, you know, like these, so you can't even tell which are real and which aren't. It's like collab ? Because you know they're superficial when they approach you like that. Well, the one bot or whatever the hell it was commented collab ? DM on Joe's post, and I replied back, and I was like, piss off, he's mine.
That was my favorite.
And they liked it. And they liked it. The company that asked him to collab liked my comment.
There was a few other ones. I'm reading them right now. Like, one of them was just like, oh, I want to... Because, like, it started off, like, with legit ones, and then everybody started commenting. Like, I had one of my friends be like, collab with @Kanye West. And I'm like, only if he follows me back.
That's funny. That's too funny. I don't see those on guys' posts very often. It's mainly women.
I know. I felt like I should have taken advantage of it while I was there.
You know, but nah, you're too smart for that. But we got a great show for you today. Space Jam: A New Legacy review will be the meat of the show coming up in a few short minutes. We're also going to be talking about Jackass Forever. The trailer dropped, poster dropped. There's been some really heavy social media promotion for this movie. So we're going to dive into the first trailer, talk about that. And then also Mitchell's versus the Machines is back in the headlines for a very distinct reason. I want to talk about sort of the nebulous nature. It's a really good alliteration I came up with on the spot. Nebulous nature of Netflix view counts. That'll be coming up. But first, a word from the good book. Now, Dom, would you like to explain what we've been doing the last couple of weeks while I find this page?
So Steve has been reading the novelization of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood by Quentin Tarantino, penned by Quentin Tarantino, this novelization in stunningly beautiful airport paperback, as I like to call it. And we have been kind of playing this game where Steve will go to any random page and choose the spiciest line on that page, any random page, either an F-bomb or, or like the other F-bomb feet, something like that. If it's on there, we read it. And I don't know if Steve wants to do a random one or if he wants to choose, if he has a spicy one already that he already read here.
I have not only a page, but a paragraph in mind. Now, keep in mind, guys, we're not going to be able to say the F-bomb until next Christmas on this show. I'll always say I allow one F-bomb on the show. But I'm going to read a paragraph. It's on page, if you have the book near you, it's on page 262 and goes to 263. So it's a chunky paragraph. But if you don't mind, I would like to monologue for a moment, okay? I'm far past this point in the book. I'm actually almost done with it. But I do want to read this. Context. This is coming after Cliff returns from the war. Cliff Booth, Brad Pitt's character, returns from the war, and he's trying to kind of figure out what to do with life. And he's been traveling the world. So he's talking to these Frenchmen about how to become a pimp. So you see where this is going already. So that's the context. I set the scene for you. So here we go. Cliff smiled, but the French fella assured him, "Hey, that's harder than it sounds. You can't fuck him like you fuck your girlfriend. You can't fuck him like you fuck your best friend's girlfriend. You can't fuck him like you fuck your father's mistress. That's fucking for fun. This is work. For work, they fuck customers for money. For work, you fuck them for money. And trust me, they're harder to please. If you want to keep them in line, you better fuck them good. And you better fuck them a lot. Which means you're going to have to fuck them when you don't want to fuck them. But even when you don't want to fuck them, you have to fuck them, and you have to fuck them good. And the more bitches you have, the more fucking you're going to do. More bitches means more fucking. No sleeping on the job. You get lazy, even 4 goddamn days, that bitch is going to wake the fuck up. The spell will be broken. And when the spell's broken, it's not like, okay, I guess that was that. See you later. When the spell's broken, that bitch fucking hates you. And that bitch doesn't just hate you. That bitch wants to see you dead. And maybe she tries to kill you. And maybe she tries to steal your shit. And maybe she calls her father. Maybe she calls her brother. Or maybe calls the boyfriend she had when she was a little girl and asked him to save her, and now it's him coming after you with a knife, or her brother coming at you with a pistol, or her father coming at you with a fucking shotgun. There you have it.
Holy fuck.
I would kill for a goddamn reading, like a full book reading of you, Steve, reading this one. I think you'd be perfect for it.
I didn't even rehearse that, so I'm surprised that went as fluid as it did. I've also been watching a lot of Bo Burnham recently, so I think that's where it came from.
Oh shit, we could review Inside one of these days.
That's one we probably should have reviewed back when it came out, because let me tell you, man, I have been singing that Bezos song at work all week.
Hell yeah, me too.
All week and then some. Only fitting because the jerk off went to space. But anyway, but yeah, I'm almost done with this. I got like 70 pages left. I'll probably have it done by next Wednesday, I would hope. If I do, I'll do a mini book review of it, which I do not know the first thing about book reviews, so bear with me on that. But we might as well jump in. Again, we can't say the F-bomb on the show till next Christmas. So now that we got that out of the way, it is time to talk about the Netflix movie, The Mitchells versus the Machines. So I sent you guys this article from Deadline. This was your homework, I suppose. I just saw this today. Not a ton to say about it, but I do want to bring something up. I guess since I've been talking quite a bit, I'll throw it over to you guys. General reactions that now Netflix has come out and said that Mitchells versus the Machines has become Netflix's biggest animated film to date. Now, it's interesting because the movie's been out for several months, but they only revealed that in the first 28 days of its release, it was viewed by 53 million members' households. So that's just the first 28 days. I don't know why they didn't expand beyond the first 30 days or so, or beyond the first 28 days. But 53 million member households watched the Mitchells versus the Machines in the first roughly month of its release. So reactions to that, Joe, I know you didn't get to talk about Mitchells versus the Machines on the show.
Oh, God, that's right. I didn't. Wow. That's like one of my favorite movies this year, too.
Are you pleased to see that it is one of the most watched movies on Netflix, or one of the most watched animated movie, I should say?
I'm very happy to see it is the biggest animated film on Netflix. What actually shocked me about this article, though, is that for some reason I just assume, like, with parents and everything, they're just like, oh, thank God, there's an animated movie for my kids to watch, and they just throw it on and let their kids watch it while they can go around and do whatever they want around the house while the kids are distracted. It being 53, million members, like, that's pretty good. That's amazing. I'm actually surprised it's like movies like Bird Box and especially like Project Power, and Extraction with 99 million are like way, way higher than it. It was just like I was one of the ones that liked Extraction of the show, but like I didn't expect it to have the most views of all the movies on Netflix. I was like, no way that's the most viewed movie, because like to me it's like, dude, it ain't even like the most interesting one. It's kind of like just a, as much as I like it, it's a very much a generic action flick.
I figured Bird Box was near the top. I figured because the thing was that movie felt like a phenomenon at the time. If you remember, we weren't doing the show, but it felt like a phenomenon at the time. I don't feel like Extraction. I don't feel like anybody talked about it. In my very small worldview, I don't feel like anybody talked about that or Project Power.
I think it's also this, because, looking back on it too, I mean, like, yeah, no one talked about it. Like, it blew up for, like, the week it came out, because also people were like, did you guys see that he's alive at the end of the movie? And people are like, wait, what? But we also have to think, too, that movie came out in the middle of the... not even middle. It came out at the start of the pandemic, actually, when people were staying at home. So this is when people were either renewing Netflix memberships or finally getting back into it. And yeah, I guess when you have a movie with Chris Hemsworth in it, you're just like, all right, screw it, it's something at least. So like that's probably why it got to 99 million. But even then, so I'm surprised even movies like Army of the Dead like only got to 75, and it's just like. I know, like, Snyder Cut aside, like, whatever, it's a zombie movie on Netflix. It's an action zombie film with Batista. I thought that had way more than Project Power and Extraction, but nonetheless.
And I think the thing that people have to remember is the nebulous nature that Netflix counts views. Now, first and foremost, let me say this. As somebody who reads, like, the daily or the weekly box office report, every Monday morning, I always read it. Either Forbes, Box Office Mojo. I'm always looking at the numbers. I always want to see what people are seeing. It was miserable during the pandemic because these streaming services do not report the viewership of their content. They don't. They just don't. And Dom and I talked last week about Disney Plus releasing the figures for Black Widow. And I talked about why they did that. I talked about why I thought they did that, because it would then push the movie's opening weekend gross to over 200 million. It was a numbers game. That's why they did it. I don't think they would have done it had it not pushed them over the threshold of that 200 million, but that's beside the point. Yeah. Netflix, HBO Max, these Paramount Plus, these streaming services do not report the viewership counts. And when they do, like Netflix has said before that they count 2 minutes into it as a view. That's a view. 2 minutes, because the 2 minutes then, under their rationale, is that the viewer made a conscious decision to press play on the and watch the content.
If they said 5, I would actually believe that more, like significantly more than 2 for whatever reason. Yeah, 2 sounds like an accident.
I believe it though, because. I'm making sure they're not in the hallway right now, but when my dad watches something, if it does not pique his interest in the first 2 minutes, he'll take that remote, change, and then like he's getting done.
Well, that's like 2 minutes and 30 seconds or something. I feel like
it's
5
not really
is
a critique of it's not really a critique of viewers' habits. It's a critique though of like the methodology, because like talk about the bare ass minimum.
Yeah.
And like talk. You want to hear something else? I would love for them to release the numbers of The Irishman and Mank. Because the viewers on that, who made it to the end credits of The Irishman and who made it to the end credits of Mank, those people should get. I like both of those movies. Those people should get like free months of Netflix.
And the best part is like I watched The Irishman like a mini series. Because I watched it in 3 halves. Because I watched it the day before Thanksgiving, on Thanksgiving, the day after, everything. So. Like I wouldn't count it as a view, honestly. I think by those numbers, if we were to go by your system, Steve.
But yeah, that's the thing about that you have to remember with Netflix, and this is why part of me really loathes the streaming era as like a gauge of like what's good and what our audience is actually responding to. That's what makes it tricky. And it's even like harder to quantify. Like we talked, Dom and I dove into this last week talking about Black Widow. It's harder to quantify, like, you know, with HBO Max releasing, with Warner releasing the in-theater slate of movies this year, theatrical slate of movies on HBO Max. It's even harder to quantify that per se. You know, in terms of views and how much money would it have made if it was strictly in theaters? Like, did In the Heights really get hurt by it being on HBO Max, this and that? That makes those debates tougher. But it makes it even harder to gauge what the hell audiences are responding to. When Netflix, at least in Netflix's case, they only count 2 minutes as an actual view.
Yeah.
So how many of these, you know, you can't go by these numbers. You can't read these numbers as gospel. Like they said, too, Fatherhood nabbed 74 million in its first 28 days. But again, how many do you think made it to the end credits?
That's so true because, you know, we talked about how Fatherhood, like, you know, it's not your typical Kevin Hart movie and everything. So, like, just looking back on it, it was just kind of thinking, like, man, like, how many people probably went, man, this is not as funny as I thought it would be, and just turned it off.
Yeah.
100%. Dom, any final words? You were probably the quietest of the bunch for this topic. Any final words?
Not really. Yeah, 2 minutes. That it also makes you think what the other streaming services. Do you guys know off the top of your head what the cutoff is for the marker is for the other streaming services?
No,
like
I
HBO Max,
don't,
for
because
instance?
they don't release the views off.
They don't
release the views off. And HBO Max, Paramount Plus, they might for occasional stuff, but ever since HBO Max, ever since Warner has been doing this thing this year, releasing the movies concurrently in theaters on HBO Max, I haven't read anything that says like In the Heights or The Conjuring saw this many views. And HBO Max, correct me if I'm wrong, HBO Max doesn't have like Netflix where it's like a top 10 of what's most streamed or whatever. They don't have that.
They have a trending now section, and that basically is taking sorry, I said basically twice there. It takes the source URLs and everything from like Twitter, and if it detects a hashtag or the title being mentioned along with HBO or HBO Max, then it pops up on trending now, like on any social media platforms. That's how that is determined. So it's not even like how many people are clicking play on it on HBO Max. No, it's just like, are people talking about it online?
It's engagement.
It's a very gray area.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating. It was very frustrating with the pandemic and still is, you know, as somebody like me, like, I mean, I just talk as just a curious party. I can't imagine trying to work for Box Office Mojo or Forbes or like the numbers or something like that made a living off of the box office tracking for the last year. You know, so I'm just curious. I just like to know what people are watching, what people are talking about, and whatnot.
Not to be like super doomer about it, but like I have a very strong feeling that if the real numbers, like hard metrics, ever came, like really precise metrics of this is exactly where like the average and all that stuff, if someone got a hold of that wasn't within the company, it would really help. It would really hurt shareholdings. Because I think there's a mirage. There is a big mirage over what how people actually engage, how people watch, and how people you know, the attention span of people, which is I guess a cultural problem these days. You could go into that argument, but what we won't. I just remember that we were all fearing about how I distinctly remember this, the Microsoft Kinect, which was the motion control thing that you would put on the top of your TV or bottom of the TV, and that like there was a patent for Xbox or Microsoft that was like, in order to continue playing the game, you had to say McDonald's, because like there was a McDonald's ad. You had to literally say McDonald's and raise your hands or something, or like the technology, the patent to do that, and people were scared it's going to be like super dystopian. It still very much could happen, but now we're in this stage where it's like people don't even want to engage at all. It's like as opposed to like engaging how they want. So it's really interesting how we're in this situation. So I don't know. We'll see. Now that people are back out and out again, maybe we'll see the numbers rise and streaming services be more confident sharing these things come winter, or another massive lockdown circa March 2020. So wait for that. Streaming services are going to be like, hell yeah, all right.
I think Dom had the operative word there, mirage, because it's really for the shareholders. It's really for the people who just want a good numbers report and a good ledger. Like if the truth came out, like how many people made it to the end credits, because with all the data mining, they have that data. They have that data. They have those numbers and stuff. And if they're counting 2 minutes as a view, there's a reason that they're probably doing that.
I would like to emphasize, we're really going off tangent here possibly, but like, I won't finish, but like, I really want to emphasize just to let everyone know how much these tech companies and the government know about everything you do. And the only thing like down to the minute, down to the click, incognito mode means nothing to these people. And the only thing keeping them from like truly knowing everything, like the last bastion, is your civil rights. And like that is actually the very last thing that is keeping, like the last wall of defense, paper thin wall of defense that is protecting your privacy, and that is slowly fading. So again, super doomer here, but yeah, dude, it's even sad because it's like, I don't even know if it helps to know. I mean, I'm sure it helps to know, but like, it's not even like some big truth that needs to get out. It's like, I don't know, man, it's just super depressing, all this content, and we're in a glut of it, and like no one's watching it. It's just sad. I don't know, dude.
On that happy note, we will segue. We got a movie to review, gentlemen. Ready Player Space Jam. Space Jam Legacy. Now in theaters, now streaming on HBO Max.
That's a good one.
I want to preface this review by saying I'm not a huge basketball fan. I'm a casual fan at best. There's a couple teams I follow. There's a couple players I really like. I don't hate LeBron. I don't hate LeBron James. I really don't. I like Michael Jordan. If you were to gun to my head, who's the GOAT, I'm saying Michael Jordan, but I think LeBron is closer than people want to admit. And people aren't comfortable with that. And that's why it's the raging debate that it is because LeBron does have an argument to be the greatest of all time. All that aside, he could be the greatest basketball player. He could be the GOAT. Doesn't give awful movies a pass. It doesn't give terrible movies a pass. And my God, the Space Jam: A New Legacy suck. This thing sucks. It's directed by Malcolm D. Lee, the acclaimed director of Scary Movie 5. He directs LeBron James, Klay Thompson, Anthony Davis, a couple other basketball players, including some WNBA players, loan their voices. And, of course, you have Bugs Bunny, Tasmanian Devil, Sylvester, Tweety Bird, who are kind of on the bench in this movie in so many words. Where to start with this thing? First off, did you guys get a chance to rewatch the original Space Jam on HBO Max?
I did, yes.
And
I did. And let's actually share share our thoughts on that first?
Go
very
for it.
quickly.
You start.
Oh, me? Let me just say I religiously watched Space Jam on repeat. That was like the DVD I would play growing up. And I love that movie as a kid. I would like play basketball with the movie, like literal basketball, like in the living room, be like playing basketball. I just love the idea of, I was born in 1994, I was born in Chicago, grew up in the suburbs, of course, immediately, like, because my mom works in a Chicago hospital. But like dude, of course, I'm a huge Michael Jordan fan, just by default. I'm not even the biggest basketball fan ever. And of course, Michael Jordan's going to be my GOAT forever and ever. Amen. But like, just the merging of the two really was like, it was like bigger than Endgame in my mind. Having watched it again, like looking back on it now, I was like, man, this is not that great of a movie. As, like,
It's not.
It's not. You cannot remove it from this. I cannot remove it from nostalgia, of course. It's impossible to do, even while actively trying to not view it through that lens. Michael Jordan's acting skills are just subpar, to say the least. And the Looney Tunes jokes don't age very well at all. And like in the context of this, when the Looney Tunes are like trying to be the Looney Tunes, it doesn't work. They work when they're separated. They're doing their own little subplot. It's like literally, here's Bugs Bunny and Elmer Fudd. That's it. Maybe you throw Daffy Duck in there. And the plot is just Elmer wants to hunt. How do they get out of the situation? That's it. When it's like Avengers level coming together, it's like the opposite of like the MCU formula, where it's like, yeah, when they come together, these movies suck. But when they're all separated, okay, this is good now. And yeah, dude, it's a really frenetic movie in the worst way possible. The jokes are rapid fire, and it's a kids movie, which is never, I don't think it's ever a good thing when your kids movie is only a kids movie. If your kids movie can stand for like, at the very least, teenagers and young adults as well, then that's a good sign. And certainly adults, that's what you want to do. But when it's a kids movie and it's really a kids movie, yeah, it does not fare well at all. So if I had to rate Space Jam, I don't know if you guys want to do this, I would give it like a 2, to be frank with you. And that's really looking back on it without the nostalgia lens. So I'll pass it around to you guys.
It's hard not to view it with the rose-colored glasses. It is, because that's like our movie, like this era of people who were born from like 92 to like 2000. Like that's our movie. Like, you know what I mean? That's the one a lot of us grew up with and a lot of us watched on repeat, because we were very young when Jordan was in his prime. You know, right. We weren't really watching it. If anything, by the time, I mean, he was on the Wizards by the time we would be
exactly. That's what I was going to say.
You know, but Joe, your thoughts after rewatching Space Jam?
I'm more kind of in Dom's book as well. I own the VHS of it. I used to watch it a ton as a kid, and I thought it was the greatest movie ever made. And there was one point, this is like the second time I rewatched it since I've been like past the age of 18. And I still have the same feelings as I did when I watched it when I turned 21. It's just okay. It's just like it's a harmless children's film. It's just like it was made to promote the Nike Jam Collection series that was coming out at that time. It was riding off of an Air Jordan commercial that had Bugs Bunny and Michael Jordan. But like for what it is, I mean, like upon rewatching it, like I always laugh when Bill Murray's on screen. I think he's like, for a guy that just literally ad-libbed the whole time, I thought he was great. Wayne Knight,
the golf scene,
the golf scene, and then like even the ending, where it's just like, man, like, you know, how did you get in here? He's like, my friend's a producer. He just walks off.
Let me say that. Looking back on it now, the one thing that did improve that I appreciated way more was Bill Murray. Because back then I didn't have a concept of who Bill Murray was and his place in pop culture. Now that's like hilarious. Yeah. That's up there.
The Wayne Knight thing is like, I always liked Wayne Knight in Seinfeld, but like, damn, is he just wasted here? And it's just like all this other stuff. It's just an okay movie. Yeah, Michael Jordan sucks at acting in that movie. Like, one of my favorite lines he has is when Bugs Bunny Lee goes up to him. He's like, "We need your help," and then, like, his reaction is, "What you on about?" And it's just like so dry and deadpan. But like, there's a few jokes here. This is how, and I might be saying something similar about Space Jam: A New Legacy, despite what other people might think. There are moments where I got a really big laugh from it, and there's other moments while watching Space Jam where I was cringing really hard at how hard it was trying to be either hip or funny. For me, if I had to give the star rating, it's 2.5 out of 4 stars, maybe 2, but like I don't know, maybe it's that Chicago side of me that's like, let me give you a little bit of half just for you, Jordan.
I still enjoy it. I really recognize what it is. I think that it is fun. It's not very artistically potent by any means. But what I liked about it, and this is a good seg into a new legacy, because there's a lot of flaws in my opinion with a new legacy. But one of the nicer parts about the original Space Jam was that it made Michael Jordan feel a little human in some ways. It showed his home life. Granted, it's dramatized and everything, but it also humbled him in a lot of ways in that movie too. Like, he gets turned into a basketball, and then after you watch The Last Dance, it's almost like, how did he stand for that? In some ways, like being portrayed in some ways that he is in the movie. So I thought that it made Jordan a little bit more vulnerable than we've seen him ever before. The other thing I liked is that it's a nice hangout movie. That golf scene's a perfect example with Larry Bird and Bill Murray and Jordan. That golf scene's a great example. You also have like Patrick Ewing and Charles Barkley in it, who are kind of just acting themselves. A new legacy, you don't get any of that. You get none of that. Klay Thompson, Anthony Davis, Damian Lillard, they're all just these monsters they're just these glorified CG creations. There's no real camaraderie between the cast. Like, that was one of the more subtle
the
blows
human
about
cast.
Like,
the human cast. The human cast is very thin. And instead we get a dreadfully miscast Don Cheadle. Don Cheadle felt so out of this movie. He felt so out of place here, first and foremost. Like, I didn't think it was a good performance, but I also don't think it was written well. And my God, I never want to hear that name Algae Rhythm ever again. That's like the worst possible, like, it's a pun, but it's like, it sounds like a music pun more than a computer pun. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, this is horrible. Why would you name your character this? Just call him the algorithm, and at least it's generic enough for me to forget about it. Sorry, that's really nitpicky, and there are way bigger, more fundamental, and more wide-ranging problems with this film that I think we need to be focused on way more. Now, I guess we'll just go off this. Steve, you said the human cast is paper thin, and that leads me to LeBron before we move on to anyone else. Yeah, is LeBron a better actor than Michael Jordan? I think so. I need to watch Trainwreck again, but I think that's kind of undisputed.
I agree.
However, the new Space Jam really gave LeBron a lot more to do. And one of the things about the original Space Jam is that Michael Jordan really didn't do anything. Obviously, he played basketball, which was his best thing, but like just a couple of reaction shots, just like, what you want about?
Oh, what you want about?
Yeah, let's play some basketball. This place is dumb. You know, that's it. Nothing longer than that.
Dude, that's literally his lines when he meets the Looney Tunes. That's literally all of them right there.
Like, okay, you know the weakness here. He's the draw, but also the weakness. So like, you did your best with just like.
Joe Pitka had to have a lot of fun with that. The director of the original had to have a lot of fun with that balance.
To be fair, too, I mean, like, what they were doing in that movie, too. If you go back and you watch it, which we've all done, but I'm saying audience who's ever watching this, if you go back and you watch it, those scenes where he's actually playing golf and everything, like the live action interactions, he's decent in those scenes. But yeah, I mean, when he's literally got to be like, all right, Jordan, this plushie of Yoshi, that's Bugs Bunny. Act against it. It's just like that. Like, you're taking a basketball guy that can't do it. I'll say this about LeBron. Yeah, do I think he's better? Yes. And especially during the animated sections of this movie where he's actually 2D animated, I thought he was actually really good, voice acting wise. I had a lot of fun when they were in these parts of the movies.
Joe brings up an excellent point, and I mentioned that too in my review, because I think the fault of this, one of the many faults of this, A New Legacy, is I think they made LeBron unlikable to a fault. I think they made him very unsympathetic to a fault up until the last 25% of that.
I appreciate it. Go ahead.
I'll say this though, again with Joe's point, it's a fair point. It's a fair justification for Jordan and LeBron as far as acting goes. I do agree that LeBron is a better actor, and I think he's playing a character. He's playing a version of himself. But like I said, they're reacting. They're not acting with humans. They're acting with green screens, and they're acting with objects. That's not easy, even for trained actors, let alone let alone athletes. So I could forgive some shoddy acting in both of these movies because of that.
Yeah, I actually appreciated that LeBron was kind of a dick in the beginning, because that actually gives him. I actually appreciate a couple things, plot wise and story wise, like writing wise in this film. Really, I do. I'm not joking.
I do too, actually.
There's depth. There's actual depth. Like Bugs Bunny, like he actually has like a range of emotion and like his own motivations separate from LeBron. Like, dude. The Warner Brothers algorithm, like I actually appreciated this. The Warner Brothers algorithm screwed the Looney Tunes because, the Looney
they were
Tunes
more marketable to be in other properties.
Yeah. And that's actually a good critique.
Yeah.
Like pop culture wise, that's actually pretty damn good. The first half of this movie, I was like, shit, man, they're actually getting there's good commentary on the pop culture landscape here on a decent level. And like his motivations of trying to get the group back together, dude. When they're getting the gang back together, I thought this was going to be like a cringe fest, dude. Especially because they're going through Warner Brothers property. It's like, of course, you're cross marketing all these things, but actually, like just a taste of it, going through like DC, going through Harry Potter and all this stuff, was like that was actually pretty fun. And just LeBron James broing along too. Joe, go ahead.
The only one I was cringing at because they spent the longest time on it was the Matrix one with Granny and
Granny sucks.
What's the mouse's name?
Speedy
Gonzalez. Yeah. That was the only one I was really cringing at. No, I thought the best one was the Mad Max one with the Wile E. Coyote.
Perfect.
I thought that
was pretty good.
The Austin Powers one, outdated as it is, I really like the visual gag of Sylvester being a naked cat. I thought that was actually kind of funny.
Just a taste.
And it got
just
in
enough.
and it got out. Like, it was just like, that's fine. Dom, I'm so glad you're saying this, because honestly, the first half of this movie, I was like, oh my god, do I actually like this movie? I was like, because even I can see Steve's like face is just slowly going down.
Steve,
I did not expect to be more in the minority on this than I thought.
Like, honestly, yeah, the reason why there's a villain in the movie, why he wants to capture the Looney Tunes, it makes more sense. It's not the best reason. Frankly, it's not good, especially when he throws it out the window during the climax. But the reason why he wants to capture them is like, I get it. I can see why LeBron is intermixed into the plot now. I get that.
My favorite part was how they bring LeBron and his kid in for this pitch that they're going to interject LeBron into the Warner Brothers universe for their properties.
Yeah.
And he acknowledges what an awful, terrible idea it is. And then they do it. That was my favorite part of the movie.
They do it, but they're doing it to extract the Looney Tunes away from the properties and make actually make the Looney Tunes again, which was Bugs's whole. I can't believe we're doing this, but like we're getting into character motivations for the Looney Tunes and Space Jam and like a new.
Yeah, you're making valid points.
Obviously, Dom and I saw the deeper message here that advertising is evil with Space Jam: New Legacy.
Advertising is evil, but here's a 2-hour unsubtle commercial for HBO Max.
Yo. If this movie ended before the basketball game began, I would legit give this movie like 3 stars.
No, I would not.
I would kind of agree. I would kind of agree there. Aside from Don Cheadle, again, I think given one of his worst performances. Like
Don Cheadle's phoning it in. Yeah. Don Cheadle's phoning it in. Some of the jokes don't land. Whatever. Yeah.
Before the basketball game, I would give you that.
We got
to take an intermission real quick on Sleepless with Steve. We're coming back with a Space Jam, a New Legacy review, and a reaction to the new Jackass trailer. You don't want to miss it. We'll be back in about a minute and a half, live and in living color. This is Sleepless with Steve. back and better than ever after our Zoom-sponsored intermission. It is Sleepless with Steve. Talking Space Jam, a new legacy, a stained legacy, if nothing else. But no, you guys bring up valid points, though, going back. You bring up some valid points. Not valid enough, in my opinion, to overshadow the glaring problems that this thing has from the beginning. And again, I go back to the fact that, like LeBron, it's almost as if, and I think LeBron is a decent actor here, but they write LeBron so cynically in the beginning. And it's like he is the draw again for this. He is the draw. And I don't know, to see him acting like the prick they made him out to be, that was the first strike. And then it turns in. Then what happens is it turns in then to this gigantic basketball game at the very end, which goes on longer than the final 2 minutes of an NBA playoff game. It becomes then this showcase of all these Warner Brothers properties. Then it becomes a loud, bombastic mess. You have a roll call. You have the Flintstones. You have Yogi Bear. You got Pennywise, as you can see courtside. The friggin' Droogs from A Clockwork Orange are in this thing. Like, it is a carnival of Warner Brothers characters. That's why I said it's like Ready Player One to a degree, almost to the point where I think Spielberg should demand some royalties at this point.
Someone on the storyboard team fought like hell to cut jokes like involving other properties, because like, this writing team was what, how many people? Seven people on the screenplay, and I'm sure there's like suits breathing down each and every one of their backs. So I'm sure someone was fighting like hell to just like, no, we're not doing a Iron Giant joke. Like, no, stop it.
No, they're going to be holograms. They're basically going to be holograms racking back and forth. No speaking lines.
Yeah. And you know what?
Somebody fought like hell for that.
When I first saw the trailer, I was worried like, oh yeah, now Fred Flintstone is going to be power forward here. It's like, no. He's just literally in the background for like a split second. Yeah. That's fine. My fears were alleviated. We're not here anymore. But let me say, so go ahead. Joe,
no. Go ahead. Finish up your point. I thought you were going to finish there.
I was going to say that, interestingly, visually, like aesthetically, the first half of this movie actually pretty damn good and cohesive. I'm talking about the animated part, of course. I actually do like the animation in Space Jam New Legacy, the 2D one, more than the 90s Space Jam 2D animation.
Oh, yeah.
I actually do like it more. I think it's more cohesive. In the 90s cinematic Space Jam, they had like a cinematic animation. They had like these kind of realistic shadows that I could go into it, but it was
more squash and stretch that didn't translate it well.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah. On the opposite end of that, the second half was way worse. Just pure color vomit everywhere. Aside from the fact that you have things in the background that are actively taking away things from the foreground. This is like computer sterile, and I guess that's part of the joke because they're in the computer, but it still doesn't work when visually it's bad. And like the enemy players, the Goon Squad are like overdoing it. The colors don't mesh. Then you have LeBron, who's like a live action, and then it clashes, which is you can do, but it's too much. And then like the Looney Tunes are now 3D, and they're like realistic fur, and it's like, okay, you can kind of do that individually. You could do these things. When they come together in like 6 different styles of animation, no, this is a massive mess, and this is really bad to look at. I'm just saying that.
I thought the aesthetic of it was pretty good overall, and it does descend into color vomit. Just everything, just an overload. You almost think the damn thing is going to start buffering and freezing at a certain point, just because there's so much going on. But I will say, I do think that is probably the highest point of praise I can give for this thing, is that they didn't spare any expense when it came to the aesthetic quality. And it doesn't look terrible. I don't like when the Looney Tunes go to 3D, when they have that realistic fur. I know it's more common, and that's more nitpicky, but I just don't like the look of it. I don't like the aesthetic quality of that. But I do think the whole entire court and everything, I do think everything looked good. Everything was rendered nicely. It's a huge spectacle, if nothing else. And I actually watched it on HBO Max. I didn't even see it in the theater, just out of pure convenience. But it looked, I say it's pretty. It's a friggin' mess, but it looks pretty.
You see, that is why I like this movie, because I went to the theaters to watch Space Jam: A New Legacy and see it in the biggest screen possible.
Poor dude paid for it.
I had to use my AMC membership. That thing was on pause for the longest time.
Yeah, there's, like I said, there's a lot of things that I just didn't gel with this thing. That basketball scene at the end too. You know it's gonna be long, but it's endless.
Yeah.
And then when you realize too that there's no rules, you realize that kind of takes the suspense. That took me out of the suspense. Or at least in the original. And the original wasn't the most, rule-driven basketball game on the planet. But this though, like, it's one of those things. It's almost like a superhero movie, and that, like, anything goes. Yeah. Anything goes. It takes the suspense out of it. You know who's going to wind up winning at the end of the day, but it takes the suspense out of it when Porky Pig can rap and put points on the damn board. Like it's seeing things like, or Granny can dance with her walker and put points on the board and outmatch Damian Lillard.
You want to talk about?
I will say this. Just one thing, just real quick, is that in the first Space Jam, the numbers arbitrarily moved anyway. So you know what? They just said, screw it. This is a video game. 33-pointer. It doesn't matter. Nothing matters. And it's like, okay, fine, whatever. Yeah, sure.
You want to talk about scenes that, like, obviously somebody was like, no, we have to cut this. The Porky the Pig rap was supposed to be like a full-on song. Like, Porky the Pig raps, then Don Cheadle raps, then Sylvester raps, and then somebody on the Goon Squad raps, and it just goes back and forth. It was supposed to be a whole rap battle, but they just kept it to only Porky.
That was the most upsetting joke, or like the most upsetting scene in the whole movie for me. Why? Because that's such an easy joke to make.
Yes.
Just have Porky Pig stutter for a minute and a half, and that's the joke. That's a good joke.
What was I going to say? Excuse me. I actually, the game in this movie, I just timed it right now. I was on HBO Max while you guys were talking and just like scanning through. The game is 40 minutes long compared to Space Jam 1, which I think was like the last 20 minutes. So you're doubling the game's length here in this movie. And for the most part, yeah, I do agree with the guys. It is the worst part about this movie, which sucks because, it's a basketball movie. I was with the game, honestly, up until... And screw it, I'll spoil this cameo. I don't care. It's a stupid cameo anyways. The Michael B. Jordan cameo, which I thought, like, from there on out, that's where the comedy just went...
I did like Michael B. Jordan, and you know what my favorite part of that scene was? On Daffy Duck, who's the coach of the team. On his clipboard, if you look, it says in all caps, "Wrong Jordan, trade Sylvester." Now, I laughed at that. That was fun. That was the best unspoken joke in the whole damn movie.
All right, that's a pretty good visual gag. I did not get to see that, unfortunately.
Wrong Jordan, trade Sylvester.
That's pretty funny. From there on out, it's like that's like halfway through the game because like the game starts off where the Toons get their ass whooped, and then like they're like, LeBron, we gotta have fun, like how your son needs to have fun, and then like that's when like they start like coming back and winning, and that leads to the Porky Pig rap, that leads to a bunch of other stuff too. Some visual gags during the match are funny. I know you guys were ripping on the Monstars, the Goon Squad. I actually thought those were kind of cool because they do take aspects about the players, like how Anthony Davis has the widest wingspan, so that's why he's the Falcon one and everything.
I recognize that.
Like I was just
and
like
Damian Lillard Dame time.
Yeah. Like it's just like I did think that was cool. They took aspects of them. I wish they did have a bit more personality, like in Space Jam 1 with the cameos we got from other basketball players. But like I thought that was visually kind of cool, and even the WNBA stars were like, one of them, like she's noted that like the way her ball handle is, it's like she has multiple arms, which is why she was a spider, and I was just like, that's kind of cool. But yeah, the second half of this movie, it tanks so hard, which sucks because like before that game starts, I was like, man, people in Chicago are gonna kill me when I say that Space Jam: A New Legacy is leagues ahead of Space Jam 1994.
And then the climax.
Then the basketball happens.
And then we get an ending that I'm just sitting there. I'm like, what the hell happened? Honestly, like, I'm not gonna spoil that part because like that's kind of like, if you want to call it spoiler, sure. But like something major happens, and then like it just rectifies it in like the last second, and I'm just like, excuse me, wait, what's happening?
Mm-hmm. I know. I totally agree. We'll probably have to cut this short to make time just to give Jackass Forever its just dues.
Yeah.
But I went into this thing, again, not a LeBron hater. I went into this thing hoping that this movie would be at least good enough to challenge the original Space Jam and have a debate on top of a debate, so to speak, about Jordan versus LeBron. Like, I would love to hear a bar argument where it's like, yeah, but LeBron had the better Space Jam. Like, I was waiting for that. I was like, that makes it more fun. Because one of the worst things about being a sports fan is debating who the GOAT is. That's one of the worst things about being a sports fan, in my personal opinion. But I also think, too, that this movie is a big advertisement at the end of the day. And it doesn't provide really any commentary for like the incessant desire of studios, particularly Warner, to make everything old new again. So when you have these like intellectual property cameos and stuff like that, basically all it amounts to is the Leonardo DiCaprio point gesture. That's all it amounts to at the end of the day. Is like, hey, I saw that. Look, it doesn't provide any sort of commentary. It doesn't really add much aside from just a crowded visual scheme. And I'll even go as far as to say this, not to go into it. You can read the full review at stevepulaski.com. But I just think too, I just don't think the Looney Tunes, especially once the game starts, and even before then, I feel like the Looney Tunes almost became background characters at a certain point. They became sort of catchphrase vessels outside of Bugs. Mm-hmm. Outside of Bugs at the end, they basically became catchphrase vessels. So this has been a pretty solid year for movies. I got one that's probably going to make the top 5 worst. 1.5 out of 4 stars for Space Jam: A New Legacy. Joe, your thoughts?
Man, where to start with this? It really sucks that I went into this, and again, I'm also not a LeBron hater. I don't care and everything. I love Jordan though. So, if you were to ask me who's the GOAT, I probably would say Jordan as well. But I don't hate LeBron, and I don't hate him for sharing his opinions online or on the news and everything. I don't tell him to shut up and just dribble. For me, I went into it, and like a week before we saw it, I shared with the group chat for Sleepless with Steve the clip of Porky the Pig rapping. I'm like, man, what is with these animated movies and the damn rapping animals, man? What is with this whole thing? And it really broke my heart that like before that game started, before the jump ball started and everything, I was like, damn, I think LeBron's got the better Space Jam. And then that game started and it just went south so fast. And then you threw in that rapping pig, and I'm just like, man, this isn't the worst. Tom and Jerry to me was way worse than this. Scoob was way worse than this too. It's so stupid to say this. It's a better effort from Warner Brothers Animated Studios, which for some reason to me is like, I hate Illumination, but Warner Brothers Animated Studios, honestly, the more and more I keep thinking about it, the more I'm thinking like, damn, for a studio that has the money to really do really detailed animation, they just don't give a shit when it comes to writing.
And you see how much they own. Like, you just saw how much they own.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they literally flexed on you like, yeah, we have this much. It's just like, okay, then why can't you get some of the writers from these many properties to come and write an animated film? God damn it.
Yeah, you have 7 writers for this, and look what happened.
I had fun with it for the most part up until like the last 30 minutes of this movie where, I was rolling my eyes and I wanted to get up and leave. For me, it's not 1.5. It won't be the worst stuff for me this year. It's just 2 out of 4 stars for me.
Dom, send us home on Space Jam.
This is actually tough to actually have a take on. At least
kind
a quick one. Because it's so
Steve's
lopsided.
This is easy
for y'all.
Yeah, but I was digging it for a long while. Look, at least Scoob was unifying and easy to hate and like fun to hate on. This is just sad. It's, I mean, look, it's gonna make millions, so I don't care. But like, it's sad in the sense that I don't care about LeBron, but like just the concept of a basketball player being like a contender for GOAT and then moving on and being like a good actor and like a good content creator, I guess, is cool to me. I like that. Rip Kobe. We never got to see that stage. We never got to see his Space Jam fail. You know what I'm talking about? It's a damn tragedy. But that aside, this sucks because this had the makings to actually be all right and actually be, dare I say, good. Because it sucks because like in shooting for like much higher than the original Space Jam did, I don't think I have rose tinted glasses at all for that first Space Jam movie, because that first one, it is nothing but let's cash it in. Here's the Looney Tunes being Looney Tunes. Michael Jordan will show as bare minimum as we possibly can so that he's not the worst part of this. I mean, he's not like, people don't hate him in this movie and then he can just bank off the nostalgia or whatever. In this movie, like, they gave LeBron a character. They gave him like a depth as a character. They gave Bugs Bunny depth as a character and like a goal to aspire and motivation, like a separate motivation. Like they had like the somewhat of a meta commentary here that's like actually kind of clever, doing things that Ready Player One couldn't do, even though it was really primed to do it. I'm still miffed that they had this golden opportunity to make that kind of commentary, but it didn't. And this one almost was getting there, but goddamn, that second half really just tanked it. And I don't know. I mean, I know the end result of what happened, but like how it got there when you had that strong beginning, it sucks, man. Holy shit. I'm going to have to give it like a 2 out of 4, the same as Space Jam, but for like different, the first movie, but like different reasons. And like, honestly, the debate here rages way harder in my mind than like,
yeah, which one's more mediocre, Dom's mind?
Yeah, no, seriously, because it's like, do you rank the movie that just didn't try that hard but did exactly what it was going to be, or do you take the movie that tried way harder but failed harder at the same time? How do you weigh that? It's that weird situation, man. Yeah, I'm actually kind of bummed more than anything, because this had look, 30 minutes over, like the first one was 90 minutes. This was 2 hours, and the first
really one's 78 without credits.
Yeah.
Too.
Oh, sure. Okay. Yeah. So, but
this is
like an hour.
I like it just a little bit more because it gets in and it gets out.
It gets in, it gets out. There's weight on this one.
Man, I don't know. I'm kind of bummed, guys.
New legacy. Who this? Dom got drained. Don't worry. We're going to talk about grown men hitting each other in the nuts as they near AARP memberships. That's what we're going to talk about right now. Go kind of bleeding into Sleepless OT, but we'll roll with it. Jackass Forever, October 22nd. Where will you be October 22nd? I know where I'm going to be October 22nd. I'm going to be watching Dune, because I'm going to watch Jackass Forever on October 21st, Thursday night. That's where I'm going to be. But anyway, Jackass Forever, you already know I'm Jazz June over this movie. Like I said, comes out October 22nd. We got a poster and we got a trailer finally. And this is the first Jackass movie that is not going to feature Ryan Dunn, rest in peace. God, he's been gone a decade. He's been gone 10 years, Ryan Dunn. And this is also not going to feature Bam Margera, who was fired from production back in February. We talked about that. I didn't know if they were going to still go through with that. Bam's not in this movie. And that hurts.
That honestly kind of hurts more than Ryan, because it's just sad with what happened to Ryan Dunn. With Bam, it's like a lingering, stinging feeling, because it's like, this is in progress. This drama is happening as we see it.
Yeah,
and
it's gonna get worse when the movie comes out, I think, too.
Yeah, I think so know. because they're gonna be doing press for it.
Yep,
the gang's all gonna be doing press for it. He ain't gonna be there. So I think I hope not, but that's going to be a story unto itself. But moreover, something that's underreported here, there are new cast members in this. I mean, you got Knoxville, you got Steve-O, you got Wee Man, Chris Pontius, Dave England. Aaron Mahihi and Preston Lacey, the guys that never get any respect and never get mentioned. I always have to mention Dave, Aaron, and Preston. But we also have new members in the form of Sean Poopies McInerney. He's going to be fun, I can already tell. Jasper Dolphin, who is a member of the hip-hop group Odd Future, and you have Zach Holmes, who's on a show called Too Stupid to Die, which sounds a lot like Jackass in principle. So you have 3 new cast members, too, to kind of outweigh the absence of Margera and the late Dunn. And, yes, you have several cameos. Tyler, the Creator, DJ Paul. There's a handful of cameos in this. Rab himself is coming back, which is fun.
Yeah.
But, you know, this trailer, I loved how this trailer opened with the when was the last time you and your friends got together and laughed your asses off.
True.
I really love that, because that not only has like relevance just because it's going to be the first Jackass movie in 11 years, but it also just coming out of a pandemic when we haven't seen each other.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, that hit me in the feels, man. That hit me in the feels. And then seeing these guys still doing it. I think Pontius of the trailer, and then I'll throw it over to you, Joe, your thoughts on it. I think Pontius has the line of the trailer when he says, concussions aren't bad until you hit 50. Thankfully, Knoxville's 49. Oh, man. These guys are still at it, man. These guys are still at it, hurting themselves and bludgeoning themselves for our amusement. And I cannot wait. I'm a diehard Jackass fan. This probably should, for the sake of all the cast members, be the last one. And it kind of has that aura to it a little bit, just forever, Jackass forever.
Like, they'll live on forever after this. Like, is the whole thing.
It kind of has a Twilight feeling to it, which is better for everybody involved. But again, I'll be at the theater October 21st that night. Joe, what say you about the trailer for Jackass Forever?
This was a very fun trailer to watch and got me very excited. This is just like, they just know what you're here to see, and they get right to it. Seeing these guys come together and seeing just ridiculous stunts that I can't wait to see how they play out. It just reminds me so much of when I watched the commercials for both Jackass 1 and 2, and then had to wait so long to watch them on VHS or DVD from Blockbuster because my mom wouldn't let me go see it in theaters. I did see Jackass 3D in theaters, and it was like one of my favorite times. I went to the theaters with my friends, and we snuck into it and everything. So for this, I'm just looking forward to seeing what the hell they have in store for this one, especially with the age they are. I've seen some people kind of complain, though, that like, oh, why are they bringing on people like Eric Andre? Like, keep it just the cast, and Machine Gun Kelly and everything. Not like hating on these guys, but they just wanted to stay as the cast. Guys, they literally say in the trailer, they're old as hell. Some of these stunts they literally can't do anymore. But like, it's just like, who cares? Seeing the contraptions they make and the payoff of them is going to be funny no matter who's in the seat and getting it. It's funny no matter what.
That is a good point. They can't do everything they once did. It wouldn't be wise for them to do everything they once did. No. That's a very valid point.
And honestly, this is like the Twilight movie of the franchise, the Twilight years. And they are in their Twilight years, especially their shortened lifespan after having done Jackass for so long. And like passing it on to the new generation, whether or not they, maybe not literal, like, here's the new Jackass. In fact, that's the worst thing they could do. But just passing it on, like, honestly, Eric Andre is like perfect.
Oh yeah, especially
I'm sure he'll do like,
stunts.
yeah, I hope he does. I hope he has a very minimal role, like, maybe 1 or 2 scenes or stunts or gags or whatever. But I like that. I mean, look, Tony Hawk showed up in like other movies and other sketches, not sketches, but stuff that they did, and like, that's perfect. I mean, Tony Hawk goes right in with the skater CKY nature for that Bam brought in as well, and all that stuff. So in fact, I think Tony Hawk is going to be in this one as well. Was he in the trailer?
He will be. He will be Hawk. Yep. And
honestly, like, just seeing Tony Hawk in a Jackass movie where now we have skateboarding in the Olympics. There are skateboarding Olympians now. Like, Jesus Christ, we've come a long way. But honestly, I am not worried about this movie at all. I might bite myself in the ass later, but honestly, like, seeing Steve-O on Hot Ones, if you've seen his Hot Ones, he killed it on that Hot Ones. And like,
that was good.
like what I'm not even gonna spoil it, because if you haven't seen it, it will like, cause like, God damn, what he does at the on Hot Ones is like legendary. And it's like, dude, he hasn't lost it. He never did. None of these guys ever really did. Obviously, like, they slowed down a little bit due to age. That was always gonna happen. But like seeing Wee Man, seeing like England, I'm like, Jesus, this is like one of the few constants in our lives for whatever goddamn reason. Freaking Jack, of all the things that had the propensity to crash and burn horribly, insert bad Ryan Dunn joke here, but like, of all the things to really fall apart before our eyes and like be just a blip and like a really just a really sad thing. And we kind of have that now with the BAM situation, but like somehow Jackass has been a pretty goddamn good, solid constant. And I'm really glad it's that, as opposed to, I mean, not opposed to, I wish other things were like that too, but it's just funny in that way. That's like a joke in and of itself. And I'm looking forward to it, man.
Yeah, 20 years ago, the first Jackass movie came out. 20 years ago, Jackass the movie.
The movie, not the show. The movie.
No, the first movie came out, and yeah, I might actually rewatch the three of these before I go see this one, because this is such an elaborate series. You're gonna need to see the sequels. You're gonna be lost. But I want to go back and watch these, because we've talked several times about Jackass. There's a reason that whenever there's a Jackass story, bad or good, if it involves Bam Margera or even this new trailer, we talk about it, because all three of us have a true affection for that show and those characters and everything. I mean, don't forget, I was one of the few critics that actually liked Action Point even too. And then also lastly, to Dom's point about Eric Andre's presence in this, don't forget Eric Andre was in that Netflix movie Bad Trip, which was very similar to Action Point insofar that it was basically a plot structured movie, but the street stunts were all real with Lil Rel Howery. And that was a pretty good movie, too. That was honestly decent. That movie had a big rigmarole coming out. It was leaked on the internet like a year before it came out, and then it was sold to Netflix. That was supposed to come to theaters last April. It was a huge kerfuffle, that thing. But we'll be reviewing Jackass Forever and Dune that following weekend, whatever that day is. What is it, October 26th? We're going to be reviewing both of those. That's going to be a go-along, get-along kind of show.
Honestly, that's the thing about Jackass, too. It's that it is so niche and so unique. It's counter programming. No matter when it comes out, it is automatic counter programming. Because honestly, like, what other group of people would ever put themselves in this much harm and be this successful doing it? Either they've moved on, they're like on the internet exclusively, because these guys are pre-internet. Really, it's amazing. It's like they're like this. The Jackass crew is like this crossover group, and it's generationally, and it's so, I don't know, man. I can't wait for the documentary, 20 years from now, when they're all
when they're as old as the old people they used to dress up as.
Yes, when they're like in the ending scene, I think, to the first Jackass movie, where they're old and they're getting run over. It's like it's gonna happen now. There's a whole movie, and it's called Jackass Forever, coming out in October. That scene is happening now.
All I know, on a final note, October 22nd, we've got new Denis Villeneuve. We get new Wes Anderson. We get new Edgar Wright. And we get new Jackass. What it do, baby?
God damn.
Cannot wait, man. That is going to be a banger weekend if there ever was one. That's going to do it for Sleepless with Steve on our new time, 6:30 Central Time. I'm Steve Pulaski. We'll be back next week, a review of Old, not Young, Old, M. Night Shyamalan's new movie, which I've got high expectations for ever since I saw the Super Bowl trailer that premiered when the Bucs faced the Chiefs back in February for the Super Bowl. So I've been excited for this movie for a while. New M. Night, first M. Night movie we got since Glass back in February of 2019. That's going to be fun. I know these three gentlemen are looking forward to it as well. So we're going to come with a review of that next Wednesday, and then the following Wednesday, we're going to be tackling Jungle Cruise and reviewing that new movie as well. For Joe Viso, it is great to have you back, brother. Thank you for doing all that you do behind the scenes right there. For Dominic Guanzon in that snazzy polo, and yours truly, this has been Sleepless with Steve.